Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review, so I hope you find this one interesting. This movie is a gangster film from South Korea, Korean language English subs, released in the year 2012, directed by Jung-woo, and this film is called Nameless Gangster. So Nameless Gangster is broken up into two time periods. You've got the present day where this gang boss has been locked up and he has been on trial for numerous crimes, and then you've got the flashbacks which basically sums up his life leading up to his incarceration. So he starts off as a low-ranked customs official who is being investigated for bribery. And so he's going to lose his job, he's got a family to support, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's going to do in the future to support them. So he's very stressed, and then one evening when he's doing a patrol in this port, he comes across two people trying to break into this area, and so he chases them off and he looks into what they were trying to get, and it turns out there's 10 kilograms of heroin stored here. So he ends up not reporting this to the police. He sees this as a money-making opportunity by selling it to some gangsters. And so he goes at this gangster boss, and little does he realise that he actually has a little bit in common with this gangster boss based on their past with their family members. So this gang boss reluctantly accepts this guy into the crime family, and he basically shows him the ins and outs of this crime and how crime works. But it actually turns out this guy's a coward, he's ignorant, and he doesn't know the way of the world as far as crime's concerned. And as a result of that, the mobsters start to get very resentful of this guy because he starts to climb up the ranks within this family. So a lot of betrayal is going to basically be a consequence of this guy's ignorance, and he just can't get the respect that he wants, and it basically threatens to destroy this crime family from the inside. So whether or not it does, it's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Nameless Gangster. By far the best element of this film is the acting. Min-sik and Jung-woo are very, very good Korean actors. If you know I Saw the Devil, The Quiet Family, he's the bad guy of Lucy, you're going to know Min-sik. This guy in Old Boy especially is just a brilliant actor, and to see him in this film was very good alongside Jung-woo. Now this guy is off the Yellow Sea. He was also in The Chaser, and this, once again, he is a very prolific actor within South Korean cinema. So these are very familiar faces if you are a fan of this area of the world as far as movies are concerned, and in gangster films they seem to be in a lot as well. So you've got one character of Min-sik who plays this very, he is very cowardly, he just is very ignorant, he wants respect but he can't gain it. And then on the other hand you've got someone who's completely opposite. Jung-woo is this ruthless gang boss he demands respect from basically his ferocity, and when these two come together it feels like two worlds are clashing. So it's very intriguing and how this actual friendship develops, and the betrayals and all kinds of problems that these people face based on the fact that this Min-sik character is trying to come into a world that he's not adapted to. And it shows you how destructive that can be. It shows you the power of loyalty, the power of respect, the power of ignorance, and how ignorance can lead something to very dire consequences. So I thought the overall family dynamics within this crime family was the most absorbing part, and I thought that the friendship and the relationship between these two very different people was something that makes you keep watching. So although the movie does have a lot of problems, those elements and the acting performances from the central two characters was absolutely fantastic, and that's something you would expect from South Korean film. And this movie does have the trademark of what South Korean movies are all about and how good South Korean films are. I thought the idea of flashback and present day was very well done. The flashback, wanting to know how this guy ended up in this certain area, it does give you a certain sense of predictability as to who's going to come out of this in one piece. And that's the only thing I don't like about flashback kind of films, is that when it starts off basically at the end, you know how it's going to lead up to, and that's ultimately the problem with this film. But having said that, I thought actually watching this guy go from zero to actually something was reasonably well done, although I will say that the movie does go on for way too long. So the movie is very authentic in the way it looks. It's set in the 80s, and I thought it did give that sort of authenticity that the movie wanted. I thought the soundtrack was decent, cinematography was excellent, very bright colouring. You've got the typical South Korean crime fight scenes that are very well choreographed, and you've got some fairly memorable other characters that do blend into the story and make the story evolve and snowball into something that you know is going to have a catastrophic sort of consequence. As I said, my only problem with the film, actually I have two problems with the movie. Now, number one is the predictability. It does follow a very familiar formula as far as gangster films are concerned. Now, my problem with gangster films, especially in the United States, is that if you see one, you've seen them all. Godfather, Goodfellas. Now, they are very good films, but it's kind of like you've got this family, you've got infighting, you've got betrayal, and it basically culminates into something that is very generic, and you know how it's going to unfold. And unfortunately, in this film, you know how it's going to unfold, and the fact that it goes for 2 hours hours is just way too long. And so if you're going to have a predictable sort of element to a film, you've got to make it short and sweet. But this movie just tends to go for way too long. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes. Now, I've said in the past with Korean movies, they tend to feel the need to go for 2 hours, and then if you don't have the material to really make it warranted for that 2 hour length, you're going to start looking at your watch. And unfortunately that was the case with me. I thought that yes, it was very interesting in the relationship of these two people, but it just felt like it didn't have anything else. It just didn't really capture your attention and demand your attention, and there were a few times where I thought, yes, definitely it outstayed its welcome. The end of the movie was decent, but it's getting to the end. You thought that it could have got from point A to point B a lot faster, therefore it would have been a lot more rewarding. So Min-sik and Jung-woo, unfortunately, they can't really save the film, and I actually thought that this was a wasted opportunity given the idea of it. It's a psychological look into a crime family. It's a psychological look at how it can corrupt somebody and how if someone's out of their depth, how devastating that can be. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have that thrilling aspect. There are fight scenes and action sequences that are very well done, but they are few and far between, and it really does focus on something that I thought didn't have the legs to make it to 2 hours 13. So if it was cut down to 80, 90 minutes, it could have been a lot better. But having said that, it is still not the worst crime film ever going around. But if you're going to compare it to films like New World, Bittersweet Life, and all those gangster films from South Korea that really do know what they're doing, then you're going to be disappointed with Nameless Gangster. It's not one of the more well-known films from South Korea, and after seeing it, you could probably, you can see why that is the case. So overall, for Nameless Gangster, it did have its interesting elements, but unfortunately, it basically overshadowed by the negatives. So I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Going to recommend it if you're a die-hard crime fan, but if you're not, then this is nothing that's going to really capture your attention and keep you thinking about it by the time the end credits roll. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching these, and I'll see you later. Bye.